What's going on, guys? This episode is going to be a lot of all-star talk, a lot of good and a whole lot of bad to recap from the all-star game. Is it a joke? Is it not? We're going to cover all of that. Plus the two games that the Clippers had prior to that, a loss to the Timberwolves and one of the best, if not the best wins of the season that came at the hands of the Clippers and the Warriors. So all of that and more, and then we're gonna also preview some games coming up after the All-Star break. It's going to be kind of a condensed schedule, but we're going to get into all of that. So without further ado, let's make it happen.
What's up, Clipper Nation, and welcome to the Clip Service Podcast. Please make sure to find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Deezer, Amazon Music, and YouTube, and you can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Clip Service Pod. Today, we're here with All Reliable, myself, and my co-host, Nick Jacobs. Let's get right into it. Nick, take it away.
What's going on, guys? Hope we've had a nice... Hope we tried to enjoy the All-Star break. Hope everybody's had a nice weekend. A lot to cover this week on our All-Star break, All-Star weekend special. Before we do, let's jump into the What's Going On segment. We're going to talk a little bit about what's going on around the league. Some of that pertains to the All-Star break. We're kind of just... this episode we're kind of throwing together, so bear with us, guys. We're going to try and give you guys the best that we can, but it's been a long week, so please bear with us. But to start us out, what's going on, Rola? What is going on?
So first things first, we had a fantastic All-Star weekend, and by fantastic,
Kawhi and Pete.
I mean trash.
Yeah, by fantastic, I also mean trash.
Yeah, I mean, Kawhi and PG,
love to see them in the All-Star game.
We always love to see, our stars in the All-Star game, but they got their eyes set on something bigger. They weren't really, playing to win anything or to do anything really. I mean, I think Paul George had like 3 points or something.
No. Paul George had 13.
Paul George had
I think
13,
Kawhi had 5.
Had 5. Okay, yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah.
So yeah, they didn't make an impact really like that. I mean, Karl-Anthony Towns had 50 points, so compared to those types of players, they weren't really, it wasn't really a big deal to them. Obviously, me as a fan, we've seen Kawhi win All-Star game MVP in a couple years ago. What was that? 20?
Yeah, it was the first Kobe Bryant award.
2021.
Yeah.
Right. So at this point, it's kind of like I'd rather them just sit down. I mean, we're happy to see them in the All-Star game.
But I am surprised, real quick, sorry. I am surprised that Kawhi suited up because he was, if you guys remember, Kawhi was out for the game against the Warriors the day before the break with, what was it? I know it was a adductor. So it's something in his leg. I know that.
Oh, I thought that was somewhere else. Your hip?
No, I think it's like a groin thing.
Oh.
Penis adjacent.
Oh shit!
Yeah,
his adjacent to his penis.
Yes. Okay, but anyway, he was out with that, and I kind of figured that he wasn't going to play based on that information. Wasn't going to play in the All-Star game, but a couple of days before the game, it comes out that he is cleared and ready to play. So. It's kind of weird because part of me would have liked to see him just rest, but I have enough faith in his team of medical professionals, and if he's ready to play and he's cleared to play, then I'm sure that it's fine. I just obviously with the history of 2-1-3 and injuries, we do like to err on the side of caution, but looking at the stats, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard only played 10 minutes each. So I think just to make that little appearance, I think is good. Yeah, PG had 13 points. Kawhi had 5. So modest outings for both of them. But like I said, 10 minutes. Um, how much damage are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I don't know. The All Star game has become
Wait. So
silly.
wait. Can we? Sorry to cut you off. Can we go over the pros first
The
of the
pros.
All
Well, I
Star
was gonna tie.
weekend?
Yeah. I was gonna tie into that, but just you go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, well, the only pro I really witnessed during the All Star game was the 3-point contest and the
Yeah, the 3-point contest is always pretty
especially
good.
yeah, especially the 3-point contest against Steph and Sabrina.
Yeah,
Um,
that was cool. They need to keep doing that.
they do need to keep doing that, and
They need to keep
obviously
doing this
Steph.
too.
Damn, that was loud.
Hmm.
So Steph won 29-26. Sabrina, she came out and killed it. I mean, if you're shocked that she was gonna kill it, then you haven't been paying attention to basketball at all. She is probably one of the best top 5 WNBA players in that league
Yeah,
right
she's up.
now.
She's up there.
She plays for the New York Liberty,
It's her and
and
Brianna Stewart, right?
yeah, and she is fantastic. Um, so it wasn't surprising that she went off. She scored 26. 26. She tied Damian Lillard, who had won the 3-point contest with 26 points. And obviously, I mean, unfortunately, if you thought that she was going to beat Steph, then you're like, again, you don't watch basketball because Steph
Yeah,
is,
this is the greatest shooter of all
yeah,
time.
he's not a
But
he's not a human.
she does hold the record for 3-point contests
And I think that's where the
through
issue
all
came.
leagues.
I think that's where the issue came. I don't know if you heard about Kenny the Jet Smith
That
uh,
shit pissed me off.
talking a
Continue.
little bit of shit. I'm gonna be honest, bro. I kind of agree with what he was saying. I think he said it in a
Oh,
way that was a little bit. Uh, it wasn't the right time to say what he was saying. But I do agree. I don't think that it is fair to compare someone who is used to playing on a certain court with a certain ball and comparing to some like to it's almost like playing an away game.
for
Like
those of you that
she
don't know, Kenny
oh
Smith,
yeah.
during I think it was during the competition, decided to go on, talk on air about how she should be shooting from the women's line, she should be
Hmm.
using a women's ball, and stuff like that. And like I whether or not you think that it's true, like Rolla, like you said, like it's just not the time and place. It's
Yeah.
very it retracts from what they're doing there. Um, you know that she holds, like I said, she holds the 3-point contest record for most 3-point shots made. I
Right.
think she was 26 for 27 or something like that. She only missed one shot. Um, so I don't know. It retracts from her ability and it retracts from what they're trying to do there.
Facts.
I think that we need to include, there needs to be perpetual inclusion between both leagues because there's the talent pool in the WNBA is incredible and
Of course.
people need to. But yeah, sorry, continue.
But yeah, I guess where I'm coming from is that she plays on a certain court from a certain line. She practices from that line. She like her entire world is surrounded around. She plays with a smaller ball. She plays from a shorter 3-point line. When she's playing the game, she know like you know what I mean. You know how NBA players say that they know the dimensions of the court at all times. Like that's why they shoot on their toes from the sides of the 3-point line because they know the distance from the 3-point line to the out of bounds. Um, so I think it's just a little bit different for her. And obviously, she did a fantastic job because she practiced shooting from the NBA line. But I just don't think that it's a fair competition to take her from where she is used to shooting and from a court and from with a ball that she's used to and dropping her into an NBA type court and
Well, what is
expecting
it? Just a
her to
matter of
be as good
inches,
as
like.
yeah, but just to expect her to be as good, I just don't think it's fair personally. Um, and I think she would have blown Steph Curry out of the water had she shot from the 3-point. Well, I don't want to say obviously because you never know, but she does hold the record shooting from her own line. So I just think it's a little bit different. There's a reason why women play from have a little bit of a different court and a little bit of a different ball size. Her hands are just not going to be. I mean, I don't know the measurement of her hands, but her hands are not the same size, or I'm assuming they're not the same size as Steph Curry, and so that's why she has a smaller ball. Like there's reasons why the things are the way they are. But like she was saying, the whole point of this 3-point challenge was to kind of erase the stigma and kind of show that women can be just as good at basketball as men, and they deserve to be in these types of competitions. And which is why I feel like Kenny saying that stuff was just bad timing, honestly.
Yeah, I just think that with something like that, you don't want it to be set up as this handicap, right? Like,
That's the issue.
if you have a line that's closer to the basket that a woman is shooting from, and someone like Steph Curry shooting from a couple inches behind, it just seems like you're handicapping the competition, and that's not the whole. That's not what they're going for. I think that they wanted to even the playing field, and I don't know. I just think that you look at how deep, even women and players in the WNBA, look at how deep they shoot from. A lot of them are pulling up. You look at Sabrina Clark, who's, I don't know if she's going to be in this upcoming draft or the next or what have you, but not Sabrina Clark, Caitlin Clark.
Mm,
She set the record for women's points scored in a single season in women's college basketball, and it was with a 30-footer. You
of
know,
course,
players from all leagues are pulling up super deep, so I don't think that she was at a disadvantage being an inch farther back than what she's used to, because people are pulling up from Dame Lillard range all the time. So I don't know. I don't necessarily think that the line should even be a like having the women, if they do this again, having whoever participates from the WNBA, having them shoot a little closer. I don't think that matters. They're good enough
of
to
course.
be able to shoot from that. I don't know. It's
I I, I just
but
think that it's the like that's why I say it's kind of like an away game. There's a disadvantage, even though the Clippers playing in Philadelphia, they're at the same court dimensions, but the fact that it's a different court makes
I see
makes
what you're saying.
Philadelphia have an advantage. There's always going to be an advantage when you take someone from what they're used to and put them in something else.
I see what you're
Um,
saying.
so then that's I'm not saying like Sabrina she dropped 26 points in the 3-point contest. Like she belongs there. It's just that I think that her going up against Steph Curry the first time was a little bit of a mistake. Obviously, they want to hype it up, but I think that going up against, I just think that she should have gone up against the greatest shooter of all time. And
Yeah.
if you know
No,
what I mean, like
I totally know what you mean.
yeah. But
I
overall, it's
think,
a
but
fantastic event. I think.
bottom line, I think to agree with you on this, I think it was just bad timing from Kenny Smith,
Oh,
and
of course, yeah.
I don't know. I like Kenny Smith. He's had a very underrated career. Won multiple championships with the Houston Rockets. Was basically a super role player um, for them, and I love him and Ernie and Chuck and Shaq all together. It's NBA on TV is probably the greatest sports show in the game right now. But yeah, I don't know. He's been, I think that he's kind of a mainstay as far as uh, commentators or analysts or whatever you want to call it during the All Star break. And I don't know. He gets on my nerves. To be honest with you, like
Kenny the Jet.
when it's just him, dude. Like during the dunk contest, it's always that he repeats the same fucking three things over and over and over again. Oh, that's a 50. That's a 50. That's a 50. Is it a 50, Kenny? That's a 50. I don't know. It's just, I would like a little bit more substance. And so, I don't know. He's already kind of been getting on my nerves in that platform. Like I said, I love him when he's with all the rest of the guys, but sometimes he just rubs me the wrong way. So I kind of, um, yeah, I don't know. Him bringing that up kind of added fuel to the fire
Yeah.
in my eyes. But yeah, like you said, it was a great competition. Hopefully, they do it more in the future. But yeah, I mean, the 3-point competition, like you look, they're trying to do all these kinds of different things, and I think it just shows that things are getting stale. You see it with the dunk contest. Mac McClung, who got his back-to-back dunk contest champion or whatever you want to call it.
Uh,
Um, he had some great dunks, and he had dunks that a lot of people wouldn't be able to execute in the dunk contest. But you look at the crowd, and nobody was really moved. I think that there's just things are getting stale, and
it.
they need to mix things up.
I think it's also because no star is doing the dunk contest. All of the people doing the dunk contest are kind of
Well,
just
Jalen Brown was in it this
and
year.
then that's one thing. Everyone was talking shit on Jalen Brown, and obviously like his dunks weren't that great,
They
but
were
like he was
horrible.
he was the only name in the dunk contest really. Everyone else was, I mean, Mac McClung, but people only know him for dunking, and I mean he's in the G League. But we would like to see someone like John Morant in the dunk contest. We'd like to see obviously John Morant's injured, but we'd like to see someone like Anthony Edwards or some of these like players that are known for dunking be in the dunk contest and do something cool. And I think that would get more people to pay attention because you know like those types of players have a large following, and those are the people that are going to watch. But when you have someone like, I mean, Mac McClung is cool and all, but he doesn't have a following like any of these other NBA players, and people are just not going to pay as much
He's
attention.
kind of become the NBA's break in case of emergency.
Exactly,
He'll win the dunk contest, and then you'll never hear from him again.
exactly.
And yeah, I don't know. I think it's kind of a excuse me. I think it's kind of a double edged sword in that regard because you kind of can't have your cake and eat it too. And what I mean by that is, the NBA is implementing these rules to try and stress availability and make sure that players are playing
Hmm.
in games and stuff like that. But I would be shocked if one of the biggest reasons why star players don't participate in contests like that is to avoid injury or to avoid unnecessary wear and tear on their bodies so they can play in the games that matter. And so I think that the NBA is kind of at a crossroads where it's like, okay, I think that I agree with you, where I think they would benefit from viewers or added viewers if they had bigger names in the dunk contest.
Hmm.
But at the same time, you have all these rules that are really, stressing that players play or else they're going to lose out on awards and thus losing out on contract incentives and bonuses and stuff like that. So I don't know. I think that it kind of boils down to the NBA needs to try and address the root of their issues better. And I think I've been saying it for years. I think the NBA needs to shorten their season by about 10 games. Um, I think that you shorten the season about 10 games, players stay healthier. Um, and you can still implement the minimum games played rule to be eligible for certain awards. But I think that, at the end of the day, players are looking out for their health. And you see so many players go down with season ending injuries and they never get a chance to be able to compete. You look at John Morant, for example, this year. Uh, the Grizzlies, as long as he's healthy, the Grizzlies can always compete to make at least a playoff seeding, but they can't do that
Hmm.
anymore. So, um, yeah, I don't know. I think that the NBA needs to try and look at things as a whole, and try and address the root of the problems without kind of skirting around the issue and trying to implement rules that kind of just put a band-aid on things.
Right, right. I mean, I really don't have anything else to say. Like, I completely agree. It's just hard. I don't think that the dunk contest will ever get better just because, like you said, I don't
They've
think
already
that
done
the
everything.
players, yeah, they've already done everything. And the only thing that could save them is the big name players coming in, but they'll never do that because they don't want, like you said, the unnecessary wear and tear. But like, I guess overall, what do you think about the actual All Star game? I think a lot of people are complaining that that is very well. The games are over the last couple of years. It's been very slow. It's been very. I mean, nothing really happens. All they do is just shoot threes, layups, dunks, and that's pretty much it. There's no defense. I think this year they scored the highest. It was the highest score ever in an All Star game.
Trying to pull up the stats for it
Oh,
real
okay,
quick.
cool. I believe it was
Um,
like
Yeah, it was the final score was 186 West to 211 East.
Yeah.
Um,
So to get to 200 points is insane.
it's a lot of points.
Um,
Um,
it's just 3 point. It really. I mean, I watched half of the All Star game. It's really just 3 pointers and layups. There's really nothing that crazy. I mean, was it last year that Steph Curry had went off with like a bunch of threes, or maybe the year before, and
Probably.
then the last
I
time,
don't pay that much attention to All Star Weekend like
yeah,
anymore.
I mean, and then I think the last time, and this was maybe the only time ever in my lifetime, like post like Kobe, was the year was the first was the year Kawhi won,
Yeah.
where players like actually like played really really hard. But I think that was just Kobe influence on
I
the
think it
game
was also
maker.
they saw that the score was getting close, and these
Yeah,
guys being competitors, it was kind of infectious, right?
right.
Everybody started getting involved, and it was really only the last couple minutes that they started playing
Yeah. I mean,
hard.
but that's. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what we want. We just want it to be competitive at some point. But I
I
mean,
think the way that you can, I mean, I'm beating a dead horse here, but I think that one of the biggest things that you can do that the NBA can do to implement a rule to level or to up the level of competition is, and I've seen it all over Twitter. The winning conference gets home court advantage in the finals.
that's
Um,
insane.
I think you don't like that.
No, that's insane
Why? Explain this to me.
because you're putting the hands of you getting home court advantage to other teams. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
why would
but
you put that?
everybody's playing for the same thing essentially.
Okay, but
Because
okay. So what if you have so you have Paul George, Kawhi, you have Anthony Davis and LeBron. Obviously, Lakers, Clippers. We don't like each other. The Lakers are doing bad this year. LeBron is captain of the West. He kind of doesn't want the Clippers to win. He decides to play poorly.
I don't,
You know what I mean?
I don't think that that would happen. I really
But
don't
I
think that that would
do.
happen.
But I do because why would they want the Clippers to win in LA?
Because if a team has any even smidgen of a chance of making the playoffs, they're going to want to go far in the playoffs and compete, right?
But I mean,
So
these players are. I mean, they're not dumb. If they're the 10th seed, the odds of them making the finals are pretty low. So I mean, it's. I just don't think that's smart. I think that a lot of these players, like you said, like they're not going to put unnecessary wear and tear on their bodies to get another team home court advantage.
I just don't
Uh,
know what else you would do.
I don't think there. I don't
I
think
think that
there.
that makes the most sense. Like I
I don't
really
think there
don't
is
think.
anything. I honestly don't think there is anything. Anthony Edwards said in an interview, I think it was yesterday, he said that he sees this All Star weekend as an All Star break, as in like this is the time for them to relax in the middle of the season to kind of give them like some off time, and he doesn't see this as like an actual game, so he'll never play hard.
Yeah, so but and here's my thing with that. Like he's not the only one. You look at Jokic and you look at Luca, and I think that their situation is a little different because they've kind of been painted, and I think the media is partially responsible for this. They've kind of been painted as like, oh, these guys from Europe that are just such basketball savants that they don't even have to care, they don't have to practice. Jokic commented when they won the championship that the parade was going to be on a specific day, and he wanted to go home. Oh, I have to go back to my horses and stuff like that. And I'm like, that's all well and good, but it's kind of they've taken the bit a little too far, and you saw it, during the game. Luca gets the ball inbounded to him and he throws up a full court shot and it bricks. And it's like, dude, like I get it. Like nobody is there. Nobody there really wants to compete all out. And like, it's kind of a joke to everybody.
Hmm.
But dude, it's become there's almost like a level of arrogance to it. Like, okay, if you don't want to compete in the all-star festivities, then you know how good you are. And if it's really just a matter of like if the only goal is to win a championship and nothing else matters, then an all-star selection shouldn't matter to you. Give up your all-star selection to some other young guy that wants to prove himself, like someone like Tyrese Maxey or Halliburton or Trey Young or like these young guys that still have something to prove.
Right.
Because there's plenty of guys that probably should have made the All-Star team if it wasn't as competitive or if the talent pool at the top isn't so high. There's a lot of guys that didn't make the team. De'Aaron Fox, is one of the guys that I can think of.
Trey Young.
And
Oh no,
well,
he was playing. He
Trey
was
Young
playing.
made it, but Trey Young
But
made
he
it
was
because someone else, I think it's
exactly.
Joel Embiid.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just that shit kind of is starting to piss me off a little bit. Because there's a lot of guys that would die to be in your position. So, and if you don't care, so be it. But don't be so open about it that you're going to throw up a full court shot or
Yeah.
like dribble out of bounds on purpose or like this and that. It's just it's stupid. It's bad for the fans that want to watch competitive basketball, and it's bad for people like that are just on the outside of the All-Star selections.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's just my 2 cents with it. Overall, I mean, I'm sure you guys listening to this can tell we're not the biggest fans of the way the All-Star game is formatted. We haven't been for a little while. Some of it is unfixable. Some of it's just, laziness on the NBA's behalf, I
They're saying
think.
get rid of the entire All-Star weekend.
I think that
I
I don't
wouldn't be
think that
mad.
I don't think that that'll ever happen just because there's
They make
so
so much
much.
money.
It's such an illustrious thing. Having the All-Star week, that the All-Star break, the All-Star weekend has gone back decades and decades and decades. And I don't know. I don't think that that's ever going to be something that goes away, but there can be things that can be changed. I wouldn't be opposed to like a 3-on-3 tournament or like a 1-on-1 tournament. Like,
Mm-hmm.
just do something different. The NBA can get creative with this kind of stuff. And I don't know. Like my favorite event is the Rising Stars Challenge. I love the way that it's formatted. It was great this year. You saw a little chippiness between Jaden Ivey and Benedict Mathurin.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, these guys actually have something to play for, and they're kind of up and coming guys in the league. They want to showcase their ability. I think who ended up winning it? I think Modest Buzelis, who's I think currently plays for the G League Ignite. I think he won one of the games. I can't remember which team ended up winning the whole thing because they have it basically tournament style where they have two teams play each other. The winner of that goes on to play the winner of the other two teams. There's I think 4 teams total. That one I really like, but yeah, I don't know. Something needs to change, or else this is going to be an issue. This is going to be a conversation that we're going to have next year.
Every year. Yeah.
Something's got to change. So that's my 2 cents on the All-Star break. I don't know. You got anything else to say, Rola?
No, that's it. I wanted to give a shout out to my boy Puka Puka.
Oh
For his
yeah,
dunk.
dude. The
For his dunk in
celebrity
the
All-Star
All-Star in
game is
the
fun,
celebrity
I
game.
guess. Or yeah, the celebrity game is fun, I guess. Um, save all the influencer bullshit and save all of the super media driven stuff to that, because that's always been kind of like a fun
Mm-hmm.
lighthearted joke. Like everybody travels and nobody plays correctly
Yeah.
in that one anyway, so
Uh,
that one's
it's
always been fun. But yeah, I don't know. That's probably enough about All-Star weekend. We can talk about this shit forever, but as far as other things going on throughout the league, one thing that I wanted to touch on is it kind of ties into a recap that we're going to go over in a second. But Draymond Green, um, has this dude changed at all?
no, he's insane. I think so. I mean, everyone knows about Connor Bell. His profession is under that space of kind of like the mental health, and
Yeah.
he's a counselor, so he kind of understands this stuff. He studied, he went to school for this for
Shouts out Connor
these.
Bell.
Yeah, shout out Connor Bell. He went to school for this type of stuff. So, and I think one thing he mentioned was that Draymond wasn't going to be fixed, and what they gave him like a month or two off.
I didn't think that he was going
He
to
wasn't.
be
He
coming
wasn't
back.
going to change. He wasn't going to change. I mean, like that's just the fact of the matter. He came back, and he's still the biggest dick in the league. So
And
I
it's
mean,
it's not even about being an enforcer anymore. Like he
he's
gets
weird now,
he gets
dude.
weird with it. Yeah, like we're speaking specifically on the game that the Clippers played the Warriors right before the break. It got chippy, and we'll touch on that, like I said, in a couple minutes. But basically, to put it all into to condense it all,
Mm-hmm.
the Clippers ended up pulling out the win and coming back And I think a big part of that was Ty Lue got ejected because he was disagreeing with some calls that were being made by the refs. The officiating was horrible the whole game, but
Mm-hmm.
he Ty Lue gets ejected, and then Draymond Green starts to smell blood in the water. Things are starting to get chippy, and he starts to go at Paul George, and he starts giving the four rings, flashes his four fingers, and talking this and that at Paul George, and he's just being egregious with his antics, and it thankfully for the Clippers it ended up blowing up in his face, and it kind of gave us the fight that we needed all game to be able to pull out the win. But I don't know, you see it, you're still seeing it from Draymond Green where he's he's trying to I don't know, he's just digging deeper and deeper
Mm-hmm.
in terms of like making himself look like an asshole. And yeah, I don't know. Nothing's changed. I don't think.
Yeah, I think Nurkic said the same thing in an interview after the Portland Golden State game. Nurkic said that this guy is still the same. I mean, obviously Nurkic got rocked in the
Yeah, yeah,
face and was the reason why Draymond Green was suspended indefinitely. But Nurkic said that he didn't see a change. He thought that Draymond Green was still the same person, and that was basically the end of the interview. And then Draymond Green went on his podcast and mentioned that Nurkic was crying like a little baby, blah blah blah. And then Nurkic went on to Twitter and basically said the same thing, reiterated it, and said that they should have never let him back into this league because he's still the same type of person. And then we see this game against the Clippers, and Draymond Green is like just on some weird shit. We see the clip of him of him doing that four fingers and like making all these like staring at Paul George, calling him a pussy, like, and it's just sometimes it's just like it's one thing to talk shit while you're playing the game. It gets chippy. I mean, we see with Paul George and Devin Booker all the time. I mean, we see with Devin Booker and half the, and half the goddamn league. But it's I mean, it's one thing to talk shit while you're playing the game, and it's another thing to just almost try to attack this person while they're kind of
it's
just doing their own thing. Like at some point, like Paul George is, you know what I mean? Like he's not known for being that type of person,
being
arguing,
the
doing this or
aggressor.
that.
Yeah,
Yeah, being the aggressor. And for Draymond to like, I don't know. I just felt like that energy he was giving was a little bit too negative,
it's
personally.
just it's a little too extracurricular. I mean, obviously it like blew up in his face.
Mm-hmm.
Like we ended up taking the win probably because of that. But yeah, I don't know. Draymond is Draymond. He's probably only got a couple years left in the league. So I think that he's still trying to, make an imprint on the game in whatever way he can. I get that, but yeah, it's not fun to watch. It's getting weird. Yeah, I don't know. I don't have much more to say in that
Yeah, me
regard.
neither.
So yeah, let's just jump right into the first recap that we have from the two games prior to the All Star break. The first one was kind of what we expected, for lack of a better phrase. The Timberwolves end up beating the Clippers 121 to 100. This one was a tough watch. It we expected them to play hard. We don't match up particularly well, especially without a healthy Zoo. We don't match up particularly well against the Timberwolves because of their defense and their size. The too big combination that they roll out has been obviously working really well for them. Rudy Gobert is a generational defender, affects
Mm-hmm.
everything around the paint, and then Karl Anthony Towns can defend too. He's a force down low, but he can stretch the floor. So they work really good with each other. They have I mean, they're the best defense in the league for a reason. Gobert is a big part of that, but they have guys that can switch out, and they can guard the perimeter, can guard the interior. They're a tough cover, and we saw that all game long against this team. Unfortunately for the Clippers, the highest scoring Clipper was actually tied between Paul George and Kawhi, but they both only had 18 points. This was a rough game from pretty much everybody, and I think a big part of that was the Timberwolves defense. The Clippers couldn't really get into a rhythm. What was your takeaway from this one, Rola? particularly.
I think my biggest takeaway was that I felt like the height of the Timberwolves kind of really affected us and affected our players. Um, I think overall it was just a poor game we weren't ready for. Um, I feel like we usually struggle against teams that have a lot of height, and that's just part of having a team with smaller players. We have to put in a little bit more effort on getting boards, and we have to calibrate to shooting over these taller type defenders and taller type players. Getting into the paint is difficult, and making a shot in the paint is going to be difficult. So overall, I would have liked to see a win, but I'm not surprised that it wasn't. I think in a 7 game series, I mean, we've shown what we have done in the past when Rudy Gobert is on the floor. So I think in a playoff setting, this team is it's a bad matchup in favor of the Clippers. But I think in a regular season
In
season
favor of the
game,
Clippers or to the Clippers like detriment?
I think that the Clippers are would win in 6
I
if
think yeah. Okay,
if
so
we
yeah,
played them in a playoff setting.
in a playoff series, I think it's a different animal. But
Yeah, I'm saying in a regular season game, it's gonna go towards the Timberwolves' favor.
mhm.
But I mean, that's why I'm not too worried. But the Timberwolves are a good team. I'm not too surprised that this was a loss.
Yeah, I mean, and you kind of saw it just looking at the box score and what we saw from the game. You know, Zoo isn't really in full form. It would have been really nice to have his contributions against a really big team like this. He only ended up finishing with 6 points. He did have 11 rebounds, but aside from that, you know, our big rotation hasn't been getting it done. And this was one game that we really needed them. You know, 5 minutes from Tice, 0 points, -10. 9 minutes from Plumlee, only 2 points, two turnovers. Yeah, I don't know. Russ's activity was great, but you know he was kind of a little all over the place, and you can't be loose with the ball against a team like this that just gets so many steals, gets so many deflections. You know, number one defense in the league. Um, yeah, Harden had a tough time getting in his rhythm. 17 from him. Terrence kind of is falling back into a slump, unfortunately. Um, So yeah, I don't know. This one was just sloppy, and you know, I tried to tell myself after this game was over, like you know, a big part of it was the defense and the matchup issues. But honestly, I think this one boiled down to because I think we finished the half up four, the first half up four.
Mm-hmm.
So we had our chance to kind of extend the lead. And I really think that, you know, I think they're 22nd in the league in offense as it stands right now. So they're kind of a below average team offensively. And this is one team where, you know, if you can get like a 10 point, 12-point lead, it's hard for a team like this to come back just because their bread isn't buttered on the offensive end. Their bread is buttered on the defensive end. So they aren't really a team necessarily to score in bunches. They can because of Anthony Edwards is such a fantastic scorer and he's got the swagger. But I think we just took our foot off the pedal coming out of the half, and you know you have to execute properly against this defensive team or a team like this defensively because they're going to make you pay for any mistake that you make. And we made a ton
Right.
of them in the second half. We just didn't come out with that fire. So this one was a pretty discouraging loss. And I was going into the Golden State game thinking that it was going to be kind of a little bit more of the same. I thought that we might have been kind of knocked on our asses. And you know, for the first half, or honestly 3/4 of this game against the Warriors, um, it kind of was that we looked a little flat.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of got bullied a little bit. You know, Brandon Przemski didn't miss a three that entire game. He's been great this season, but yeah, 5 for 5 from three, 25 points. So he only scored with threes, but yeah, 41 from Steph. Steph had a master class as he's been doing all season long.
Yeah,
But
he's a monster.
like we said before, um, honestly, And when I was watching the game too, it was discouraging because we were down 10, down 11, down 12, then we cut it to 6 and then we let them go on another run. Um but when and this was my favorite win of the season um up to this point for this reason. And Ty Lue, basically to break it down, Mason Plumlee gets hacked by Draymond Green, an intentional foul to stop the layup. And Ty Lue called for a review like they did. I think we got teed up for a flagrant similarly a couple minutes before, and Ty Lue called for the same review. The refs wouldn't give it to him. He was asking why, and they teed him up. They gave him his second. I think they gave him his second tee. That was either his second tee or he got one immediately after that and gets ejected from the game. And Dan Craig kind of takes over, in his stead for the last. Yeah, I think this was in the fourth quarter, the last like 6 or 7 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But when that was happening, I was like, okay, this is kind of a fire that we haven't seen from this team. Kawhi touched on it a couple games ago where he says that we've been kind of winning with just talent, and we need to get better around the margins. And this kind of thing, coupled with there was another play a couple minutes later where Mason Plumlee, out of frustration, fouls Brandon Pajemski hard, sends Pajemski to the floor. That's when things started getting a little chippy. But those two things, that was when the Clippers really started ratcheting up their defense and their offense, and they started playing aggressively. Unfortunately, Paul George fouls out a couple minutes after that, but Paul George was a big reason why we started getting back into the game. He looked aggressive. James Harden looked aggressive. We didn't have Kawhi Leonard in this one, and those guys really turned it up. And I saw a fight from the Clippers that that I hadn't seen, really much this season. And we've been playing great. I can't knock them too much on it, but this was kind of a new wrinkle to the team that I hadn't seen. And moving forward, that is going to give us such an edge to have that fight, to have that chip on our shoulder. Guys like Russ come in and play with that all the time.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, we ended up playing a lot harder, and Norm Powell in that fourth quarter was lights out from three. He was probably
Dude,
the best player of the game. Couldn't miss a three.
unreal.
Yeah, he ended up finishing the game with 5 threes. I think at least 3 or 4 of them were in that fourth quarter in that comeback. And then Russ had a fantastic Euro step dime to Coffee for three to kind of put the game away. That was
Mm-hmm.
that was awesome. But yeah, dude, like this game kind of changes things. I think just from a
What do you mean?
mentality standpoint, it changes things in a good way for the Clippers. I think that we saw kind of that grit that's been missing from this team, and we're taking things personally. And you saw it in bits and pieces. Paul George, when we played the Suns, he kind of had a chip on his shoulder. We ended up getting the win because of it. And but it's kind of been few and far between this season. And I think that this moving forward, this game is going to help out a lot with the Clippers mentality. So what did you see from this one that you liked, besides Paul George ended up finishing with 24? He fouled out, but finished with 24, 26 from James Harden. A lot of that was in the fourth quarter. But
Yeah.
what did you see from this one, Rola, that you liked?
Um, yeah, I thought that the first, what was it, 3 quarters? I mean, I believe we were losing the first 3 quarters. I thought it was, pretty lackluster. There wasn't a lot of energy. I kind of was assuming that we were going to lose this one. But like you said, we just really, really picked it up in the fourth quarter. Obviously, I'm no NBA player, so I shouldn't be, talking against Kawhi, but I don't think it's fair to say that we've been winning our games off of talent. I think in prior years we had been doing that, but I think this year we've been really buckling down and winning a lot of our games, really based off of us just like pure. I don't want to say pure heart, but
Executing.
executing, and we've been seeing a lot more heart in each of these games. We've been seeing that we're like our stars and our players and our coaching staff have been taking the regular seasons more seriously. I mean, look at Kawhi. I mean, how many games has he missed this season? Like 2 or 3, right? Single digits. So I don't think for him to. Oh, I just think that for him to say that we've been winning off talent isn't completely accurate. But like I said, I'm not playing the game. He is. Maybe he just sees that everyone is just kind of not really playing to their full potential, and we're just kind of coasting. And I would love to hear. And I mean, if that is how we are, then that's fantastic, because then that means when we turn it on in the playoffs, we'll be a different beast. But other than that, it's nice to see us win these close games that we aren't supposed to lose, because we're losing for most of the game. Um, but yeah, overall, a pretty good game. You can only do so much when you're playing against Steph Curry. And like you said, I think Draymond Green, talking that shit kind of lit a fire under us. And, coupled with Ty Lue getting kicked out. And I don't know if you saw that clip of Ty Lue after the game talking his shit, but
Yeah.
that's some good stuff for,
Where are those
the
refs at
fan
now?
base,
Cheating.
bro.
Yeah. See, and that's what I like. I mean, I think that kind of ties into the Kawhi statement. We really haven't had that level of edge, much like with consistency this season. So that's kind of what I mean. I think that kind of ingredient to the recipe has been missing, and I think that moving forward, that's going to give us such a big boost.
Yeah.
So yeah, this one was great. 130, 125. We really needed this one. I don't think we've lost a back-to-back game. I mean, as far as I can remember, in a while. So love that the Clippers bounced back from this one.
Hmm.
It was a little too close for comfort, but we needed this one, and we did it in a way that I think is going to benefit us moving forward. Guys, we're going to take a little break, and then we're going to get right into recaps. I think we're going to skip out on hot take, shot take, because it just wouldn't feel right without Connor this week. But yeah, it's going to take a quick break, and we're going to hop right into recaps. So yeah, stay tuned. All right, guys, we are back for the second half of our show. Real quickly before we get into recaps, I actually did, Rola brought it up to me during the break, but I did want to talk about one little thing that happened over the last week. I think it was right before the Golden State game. Shams reported that the Clippers were sending PJ Tucker and Bones Highland home early to address some frustrations that they've been having with the team. I think most of that stems from PJ Tucker, but it is interesting that Bones Highland was included in this as well.
Right.
We know what's been going on with PJ Tucker. I'm starting to understand less and less of it as more news comes out. He said, basically, to paraphrase it, he's wanted to be traded months before the deadline, didn't end up getting traded. He still wants to play minutes. And now it's come out that he doesn't want to get bought out, which I don't think the Clippers would do anyway, because he still has, I think, 21 million left on his contract over this year and the next
Hmm.
following year. So I don't think that they would buy him out outright. But he said that he didn't want to get bought out, but the trade deadline's passed, but he wants to play for another team and get more minutes. So what does PJ Tucker want? Like, what is the goal here? He doesn't want to get bought out and sign with any team that he wants. He wants to get traded, but the deadline's already passed. I don't know. Like, where do the Clippers go from here? Like I said on last week's episode, I think that there maybe is a couple of spot minutes for him here and there to get a stop, but I just can't. I can't advocate for pity minutes, for lack of a better word, for PJ Tucker. Like, don't give him minutes just because you feel like you need to. If it's not working, and he played minutes before he got DMPs and he didn't look good.
Yeah.
So I don't know, unless there's a situation where we absolutely need a stop on a guy that's a bigger body or something like that. What is he giving us out there? Like, what is he giving us? The Bones situation is a little different, because I would be
Yeah. I was gonna
frustrated too if
say.
I was Bones. He looked really good. We make a trade for Harden and he gets pushed out of the rotation. It's the right move because Harden is obviously better than Bones Highland. But there's obviously he was traded from a team. He was excited for a bigger role. It looked like he was going to get one, and then that was taken away. So I understand the frustration. I think more of the issue with Bones was that when he was called upon to be ready, or like in games where they needed him to be ready, he wasn't in the right form. They just didn't feel coaches didn't feel like he was ready. I
I
think
just
that's
don't think. I just don't think that he's playable in our system
in our
personally.
rotation. Not this
Just
year,
because,
maybe.
yeah, I just don't think that he needs the ball in his hands, and unfortunately, he's not going to get playing time over Russ.
Yeah.
Norm Powell is the guard that is going to. He's more of a catch and shoot type player,
Yeah.
and so it's just hard to get to get minutes for Bones. I think at the end of the day, it's just, unless, God forbid someone gets injured on our team, he's probably just not going to get any minutes. And I see how that's frustrating to kind of like piece together. But I think that's more concerning to me than PJ Tucker is, just because I think Bones is a great player, but PJ Tucker, it is what it is type shit. Like if he
But
wants
he's
to
so
play,
vocal. The thing
then
that's pissing me off is he's so vocal about his frustrations. I don't know why this is getting so much media coverage. He's been interviewed like 4 or 5 times about this situation. Does anybody really care?
no.
Like,
At the end of the day, no one does. I mean, it is what it is. I think that we just pick it up more because we're Clipper
we're
fans and we
locked
just
into it. Yeah.
yeah. But I don't think that anyone outside of Clipper, like the Clipper fan base, actually cares that much. Because I mean, like, okay, these I don't want to say nobodies, but these lower tier players are well, not Bones, but like a lower tier players complaining. Okay, cool. Go to the G League if you want a ton of if you want to play a ton of minutes. But other than that, just do what you do. Like they say, every player on the team has a role, play a role, and get paid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it is what it is at that point, I think.
It's just annoying to see, and I just hope that it doesn't force Ty Lue's hand to do anything stupid or do anything drastic, because we've seen in the past Ty Lue giving minutes to players that probably didn't deserve it.
Mm-hmm.
You saw that with Marcus Morris for most of last season, and I just hope that that doesn't happen. We're getting good minutes out of everybody, like like Amir Coffey. Amir Coffey stepped into a role, and he's been great, great in his role. And so that's the kind of guys that should be getting those minutes, not somebody like PJ Tucker that really doesn't have a ton of value anymore.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we just wanted to cover that. Jumping right into the first game to preview. First game back from the break is going to be a very important matchup against the OKC Thunder. OKC, as it stands, I believe, is the second seed. We're right behind them at third. This game's going to be big. I don't think that they present the matchup nightmare that the Minnesota Timberwolves do. But they play us hard every single time. They're the fourth in the league in offense and 13th in defense. So they're kind of they're kind of doing it on both ends. Shai Gilgeous has been fantastic. He's my pick for MVP. But yeah, what do you expect from this one, Rola? I mean, I think the biggest thing is just we got to be able to take advantage of, like we did last game. Chet has been a great defender in his own right in the paint, but he's still kind of sleight of frame. Take advantage of him, get him in foul trouble. We did a great job of that last game, and that's part of the reason why we were able to win. That and a fourth quarter masterclass from Paul George. But what are you looking for
Yeah,
the most in this one?
I would say we just got to do the exact same thing we did last game. We're matchup nightmare for them. So
One thing that I didn't like last game was the amount of open threes they got. Lou Dort was splashing that from three. Isaiah Joe, they have guys that can shoot. We just got to play a little, tighten up the
yeah,
defense around the
uh,
perimeter.
it's just I just don't expect us to lose this game. I just don't think that um, they have the offensive firepower to score against our team if we're playing good defense. That's just
Yeah, I think you kind of saw it too on the last play. The last time we played against them, Kawhi Leonard was defending Shea. He let him get deep enough into the paint where he had to commit to getting a bucket, and he wasn't able to drive and kick. And Kawhi's such a good defender that he let him get deep enough, pulled the chair out, and as Shea went up for the layup, Kawhi sent that shit back. Paul George goes in the other end. I think that was when he got that reverse dunk in transition. Or no, that might have been off of Paul George steal, but I think Paul George
that
hit
was
it.
probably steal.
I think after the block by Kawhi, I think Paul George might have hit a three going down the other end. Either way, it was a big
Mm-hmm.
play. I think that's kind of what we need to do more of the same too against this Thunder team is kind of let the ball sit in Shea's hands for as long as you can. Let him, because he's so shifty that he can change speeds. He can, he makes decisions on the fly. Let him get deep enough into the paint where he commits to score, and then just ratchet up the defense, close out, and box out for the rebound. Don't let Chet or Jalen Williams or any of their bigger guys crash the glass for an offensive rebound. But I think kind of play the Thunder the way that we play the Mavericks, where let the top guys get a little greedy. Don't let anybody else get involved, because I don't think Shai Gilgeous is fantastic. He's averaging 31 points a game, but Shai Gilgeous alone isn't going to beat you. So I think that if you keep the other guys from getting involved, because they shoot a ton of threes, if you keep the other guys from getting involved, I think that's a good way to start. We won't have, I don't think we'll have PJ Tucker or Bones Highland in this one, but I don't think that it matters. And I
It
think
doesn't.
everybody else is, as long as there wasn't a setback during All-Star weekend with Kawhi, as far as I know, he's good to go. So that will be
Mm-hmm.
a big help, having him active for this one. Um, and then after that, we play a back-to-back. These are both away games, by the way. So away game in OKC, and then the day after, we play the Memphis Grizzlies in Memphis.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we've said it time and time again, but this should be one that we win.
Yep.
The Memphis Grizzlies are basically running out a skeleton crew,
Yep.
of players with the amount of injuries that they've had. There's guys to watch out for. Obviously we know what Jaren Jackson can do. He can play both sides of the ball. He can hit the three.
If he
The
plays,
if he plays,
and I mean, he can hit the three, but he's been terrible offensively this year.
has he? I
So
haven't even watched. I haven't even checked out his individual
no,
stats.
there's he's. I mean, unfortunately for like big men in the league, they can't. They're not as lethal when there's no star point guard
Right,
playing
they
with them
can't
or no
generate their
guard.
offense.
Exactly, and that's kind of what's happening to him. He's kind of just been pretty porous offensively.
Yeah, I mean they've had guys. I think they took a big win against the Bucks actually right
Right.
before the break. They have guys that can step up. Been getting good minutes from guys like Vince Williams, who's kind of more of a defender over everything, but he's been able to get guys involved. He can shoot the ball. And then one guy I really like, I think he's the youngest player in the league, GG Jackson, who's been giving them really good minutes. He's
Mm-hmm.
coming off the bench right now, but that dude can score in bunches. He can't do a whole lot else, but he's a scorer. He's young and he's got a lot of energy. So make sure that this doesn't become a trap game, I think has got to be the name of the game.
Yeah.
Don't let this be the GG Jackson, Vince Williams game. Don't let this be the Santi Aldama game.
Yeah.
And I think we can handle our business. I'm curious to see what the minutes distribution will be for this one, because I'm assuming that Kawhi will play in the OKC Thunder game. We're going to need it. Depending on where he is at with his injury, I'm wondering if we rest him because it's the second out of a back-to-back. I hope we don't, but you never know.
I think we could win without him, honestly.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
just me,
and
but
if he's good to go and he's ready to play and there's no question, I think that he should play.
yeah.
Kind of set the tone, put these guys away in the first half, and let our bench kind of take control of the game in the second half. But yeah, this is another one we need to win. Yeah, not much else that needs to be said about that. And then the last game of the recap is going to be a tougher game against the Sacramento Kings on Sunday. This one, I believe, is going to be a home game.
Home game.
Yeah, the Kings have taken a little bit of a step back this season. They were fantastic last season. They were one of the best stories in the NBA. Made the first playoffs for the first time in like what was it, 15, 16 years, longest playoff drought in North American sports history. Had a great season last year. They've taken a little bit of a step back though. They kind of had lightning in a bottle last year, so I would kind of assume that they wouldn't be able to match that energy. But this is still a game that we need to suit up and prepare for. Their leading scorer is De'Aaron Fox with 26 a game. He's so hard to stay in front of. He's still one of the fastest players, if not the fastest player in the NBA. So kind of just get him out of the paint, cut off dribble drives. I think this would be a great game for Zoo to kind of get back in touch with his dominance that we saw before his injury. Funnel De'Aaron Fox into the paint. Don't let him shoot the jumper, because he's been hitting those at a high clip the last couple of seasons. Funnel him into the paint and let Zoo clean up the mess once he gets too deep. What are you looking for in this one, Rola?
I mean, I think this should be I don't want to say an easy win, but I think this should be
I don't think
a
this one will
win
be
that we
easy.
take. Well, I don't think it'll be easy, but I think that if we play, up to our standards, we should be able to win this one by a decent margin. I think they had a close game against the Warriors a couple weeks ago,
Mm-hmm.
but like I say, I don't think that the Warriors are up to our level either. So
Yeah.
I just, it's just one of those teams that they're a tier below us, I believe, and so
Yeah. I mean, I want to
we should
get.
be winning this.
No, I agree. I think the injury, as far as the injury report, it looks pretty clean on both sides. So hopefully we have everybody healthy and good to go. Coming into this one. I think that the biggest one is going to be that Thunder game. I personally still want us to try and shoot for a top two seed. I
Hmm.
think a win against the OKC Thunder would be awesome for that reason. I think that would put us back in second. And then obviously a win against the Memphis Grizzlies the day after would kind of secure that. So I think we need to keep just pushing for a top seed. I think that that's so important. The Clippers haven't finished I think even in the Lob City era, the Clippers haven't finished higher than a third or fourth seed, aside from the bubble year. That was, that was a whole another animal. But I think that year we finished second in the West. Other than that, even prior to Lob City, I don't think we finished any higher than third.
Right.
So you don't want history to repeat itself. You want to try something different, and I think a great way to start would be shoot for a top two seed. Uh, I hate the playing losing games for matchups and stuff like that we've kind of seen throughout the last couple of years. I think just shoot for a top two seed and let the cards fall where they may. Um, and going 3-0 in this one, I need to look at the standings again, but I think that going 3-0 in this stretch would probably put us in good position to be the number one seed.
Yeah.
And the regular season's kind of winding down. I think we only have 26 games left, so every win matters, especially
Hmm.
you see teams start to rest their guys in the last week or two before the playoffs, and get healthy and get rested before the playoffs. So all of these wins, I think, coming out of the All-Star break, we need to hit the ground running and rack up as many wins as we can. And I think it's possible. But one thing to keep an eye on is that Kawhi Leonard injury. I think Paul George has kind of recovered from his groin injury, but the adductor injury that Kawhi Leonard had, hopefully it's not anything that lingers. He's been so dominant. He's been in the MVP race. So, we don't go anywhere without Kawhi. So hopefully he can stay healthy and keep it up.
I agree.
Cool. Well, if there's nothing else to say, I think that kind of does it for us here this week on the All Star Weekend slash recap show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it. Feel free to get at us where you can on Twitter, on Instagram at Clip Service Pod, and then obviously you guys know you can find us on YouTube. Comment, subscribe, give us a review, and then on streaming platforms as well. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, or Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Deezer. Anywhere you can find us, please give us any support you can. It goes a long way, and we can continue to give you guys the best show that we can. So we really appreciate it. And here's to winning 3 in a row in this upcoming week, guys. Thank you
Yep.
so much for tuning in. And as always, let's go Clippers.
Go Clips.